Hi, I'm Zach Frederick. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Sitting here, how you all doing? Uh, it's more, let me check the date. Hold on. Just trying to look at it on my phone. Um, Let me check. I think it's November 7th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I think yesterday was November 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. Yep, November 2nd. How you doing? I'm sitting here with you. I'm sitting here with you on November 2nd. It's 7th, excuse me, November 7th. It's 9:19 a.m. Even though it's going to come out showing a different time when I put the video on YouTube, it's going to come out showing a different time. I don't know why. I have to find out about that and straighten that out. But it's 9:18 in the morning on November 7th, 9:19, excuse me. And I just wanted to talk about what I was talking about in the last video. You see, I got my Rolling Stones shirt on. I think they're the greatest rock band of all time. That's my opinion. I know there's people who agree with me on that, and there's people that don't, but that's my favorite band. Rolling Stones and Michael Jackson are my all-time favorite. Rolling Stones and Michael Jackson are my two top favorite, and then after them I like Zeppelin and The Who, Queen, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Doors, Kiss, Wu-Tang Clan, Boot Camp, Madonna, Aretha Franklin, Dawkins, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, Guns N' Roses. You know, there's a lot of people that I like. The Beatles, Pink Floyd, Rush. You know, there's a lot of artists that I love a lot, but Michael Jackson and the Rolling Stones are my top two favorite. Today I'm wearing a Rolling Stones shirt with the legendary Lips and Tongue logo. I just wanted to show that, even though this video has nothing to do with that, but I just wanted to show that off. How you all doing? And I wanted to talk about what I was alluding to in the last video. I told you I'd make a video about that, about remakes, because I was talking about the Ash vs. Evil Dead that had just come out last weekend, and tonight on Saturday, November 7th, is going to be the second episode to the new Ash vs. Evil Dead series. I'm excited about that. You know, the first episode was great. I thought it was great. I did a review on that. I was going to do a preview on it, but I ended up not doing it, but I did do a review on it, and it was great. Who knows, I might be doing a little preview later on the new Ash vs. Evil Dead series. I might do a preview. I might be doing a preview later on in the day on tonight's episode. Maybe I'll do a preview later on before it comes on. And I just want to I said something about remakes because talking about that, I couldn't help but touch on the fact that they remade the Evil Dead. And I like it. Like I said, I like the remake. I loved the remake. I thought the remake of Evil Dead was great, even though I like the original better. I know it's the nostalgia connected to it that has a lot to do with it, why I like the original better, but, you know, I do like the original first Evil Dead better, and Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, and Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness, and now this new Ash vs. Evil Dead has been great so far. But the remake of Evil Dead, I did like it. I thought it was great. I thought the remake was great too. Although I prefer the original, I thought the remake was awesome. Um, but that's what I want to talk about here now. Like it's funny with me. It's a catch-22, and most of the time when I hear they're remaking or they're thinking about remaking, most of the time when I hear that they're remaking or that someone's thinking about remaking a classic movie, a movie that I love, I cringe and like I'm not thrilled. There's nothing bad about it. There's nothing wrong with it. If someone wants to remake something that you know a filmmaker wants to remake something and something that a movie franchise that they love, and if the people who own the rights to that film they want to let them do it, that's fine. And to each his own, you take it or leave it. Me, I don't like the idea. There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't like the idea of remaking so many classic movies just all at once. I'm since '03, since like about '03, they've been doing this from '03 till now. I mean, movies have always been remade. Like King Kong, the new King Kong, which I actually like better than the original, which I did love the original from 1933. I saw the black and white version of it, because there's a black and white version and a Technicolor version. I saw the black and white version of it. The original King Kong, I thought it was great. But then when I saw the remake after that, the remake from '05 or '06 it was, I actually thought the remake was, as much as I loved the original, I thought the remake was better than the original. But they had already remade King Kong in the '70s. In the '70s, in the '70s, they remade. It was the first time they remade King Kong. I didn't see that one, but I heard about it and saw little clips of it. Instead of him climbing up the Empire State Building, he's climbing up the Twin Towers when they were there. And they've always remade stuff. Buck Rogers in the '80s, and Scarface, the movie Scarface, the movie with Al Pacino that everybody loves. The 1983's Scarface. Most people think that is the original version of it. Most people think and I love Scarface. From '83, but with Al Pacino, it was a great movie. But most people think that that's the first. They don't know that is a remake of an old movie. Scarface is a remake of another movie from the '50s, or maybe it was the '40s, something like that. That was called Scarface, and instead of Cubans, it was about Italians. It was about the Italian mob, and it was called Scarface. And then they remade it in '83. And they made it about Cubans. They had an Italian guy play a Cuban guy, and that's the popular version that everybody knows. Most people don't know that's a remake. That's the original version. Most people don't know, and I didn't know about it until just a few years ago. I had went years without knowing that Scarface from '83 is a remake of I didn't know for years. I loved that movie, and I didn't know that Scarface from '83 was actually a remake of an older movie by the same name. I haven't seen the original. I would like to see the original. I'd like to watch the original and see how it is. It's a black and white movie. I've seen clips of it, but I never actually seen the whole movie. I'd like to see the original, you know. But yeah, movies have been remade for the movies have always been but now from like '03, because I remember the first big remake, the first remake that I remember that started this whole thing was the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A remake of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in '03. And I saw some of it. The previews look pretty good. I haven't seen the whole movie yet. I seen the sequel to the remake. The sequel of it, that was pretty. I ordered it on demand. That was really good. The sequel to the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The sequel of the remake. That was a great movie. I ordered it on demand. I thought it was great. I loved it. I haven't seen I haven't seen the part 1 remake with Jessica Biel. The previews look pretty good. I've seen bits and pieces of it. They've showed it on TV before on FX, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing. It looks pretty good. I gotta watch it. But I saw the whole thing of the remake. I mean the sequel of that remake, and it was pretty good. I loved it. But like what's a Texas Chain? Oh, I remember when the first movie I remember when they started that set off this epidemic, this flood of remake was Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the first one, and then after that Charlie's Angels. They remade Charlie's Angels. They remade Dukes of Hazzard. They remade Starsky and Hutch. And I actually saw excuse me. I actually saw the remake of Starsky and Hutch, and the funny thing with that is I never watched the original show. Looks like something that's pretty good, you know. But I never actually watched the original Starsky and Hutch. They would show reruns of it on TV. Looks like a good cop show, you know, action suspense. That's something I'd get into, but I never actually watched it. But the movie, the remake of it, the movie remake of it, I saw it and I thought it was great. I loved it. You know, I used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. So I grew up with the Dukes of Hazzard. Since I was a child, I used to love watching that show every day. And then they made a remake. I wasn't thrilled about them. I wasn't thrilled about them doing a remake, but then when I saw the movie, the remake, and I actually liked it. I thought it was good. And the original, I still prefer the original better, but I thought the remake was good. Get Smart, the remake of Get Smart, I love the original. I used to watch reruns of it on Nickelodeon and Nick at Night. You know, I used to since I was a child, I would watch they would show the reruns on Nick at Night of Get Smart, and I used to love it. They made like 2 movies, like 2 made for TV movies of the show Get Smart they made like 2 made for TV movies of that. Of Get Smart, the original, with Don Adams as Maxwell Smart and Barbara Feldman as 99, and the deep voice chief. Well, I forgot what his name was. And I like those movies too, you know. And then, you know, I love the original series of Get Smart and the movies that spun off of it. The original, but then I heard they were doing a remake. I said, oh no, another remake. And then I saw the remake, I actually liked it. I thought it was good. I still think the original is better. That's my opinion. But the remake, I actually thought the guy, he was pretty. I thought he was gonna suck as Maxwell Smart. You know, he was like a little bit different, the same character, but he came off a little bit different. But the way he came off as Maxwell Smart, I like the way he does Maxwell Smart. I like his too. I even though I prefer the original Don Adams as, but I thought the new guy was pretty good, and it had the Rock, Dwayne Johnson in it. He was good, and it had the great Khali from WWE wrestling. It was a pretty good movie, the remake. Even though even though even though like with most remakes, I prefer the original, but I thought the remake of that was pretty good. And that's to be said about most of the remakes I saw. I thought the original was better, but most of the remakes I've seen, I think have been good or great. You know, the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, it disappointed me a bit, but I didn't think that one was bad. It wasn't great, but I thought it was pretty good. Even though I thought it could have, the remake of Friday the 13th, the first Friday the 13th, I thought that one was great. I actually liked it. I actually liked it better than the original, and I do love the original. The original Friday the 13th, the first one. I love it, and I thought the remake was actually better than the original. So, you know, and all I ask of these remakes is at least be decent, if not great. And when they do surpass, when the remake, in those rare cases where they end up being better than the original, that's great. I love it. You know, most of the remakes I've seen, outside of Friday the 13th remake and the King Kong remake, most of the remakes I saw do not equal or surpass the original, but they were pretty good though. You know, only remake I think that sucked was the remake of Knight Rider. They remade the TV show and they made a newer TV show. I told you about that one in the last video. The car looked pretty cool, not as good as the old one, the old kit, the 80s Trans Am. It wasn't that hot, but the new car they had, it was a new Mustang that came out that year, a black Mustang. And I've seen that same that Mustang, that new Mustang that they came out with that year. I had seen that same car in different colors, in red and yellow, and they all looked pretty cool. And the black one especially, I thought the car looked pretty nice. The car was hot, but that show I saw it. I saw one episode of it. It sucked, and it didn't last more than one season. I don't think they got through one season. I saw it, and I saw it, and it sucked to me. That is one remake I could think of that sucked. It wasn't even okay. It wasn't even decent. It just sucked. But this is my opinion. Anybody who disagrees, they're entitled to disagree. I'm not trying to tell people that they have to not like what I don't like. And I'm not trying to tell you that you have to like what I like. the remake or the reboot of Star Trek. Star Trek, the original series that I loved. I grew up watching. I wasn't born in the '60s. I wasn't born in the '60s, so I didn't watch it when it was actually on a live. I wasn't alive in the '60s, so I didn't watch it when it was first on it. I grew up with reruns of the series. In the '80s, they used to show reruns of the original Star Trek with Captain Kirk and Spock and Uhura and Scotty and all them. And I grew up watching that since I was 8 years old. Yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I'm a big Star Trek fan also. I grew up watching the reruns of the original series, and then later the Next Generation. I didn't like that one at first. The Next Generation, when it first came on, was when I was about 7 years old, and it would come on. It would come on. It would come on TV every Saturday. I remember. And at first I didn't like the Next Generation, Star Trek The Next Gen. I liked the original when I was young. When I was that age, I was watching the original. I would watch reruns of the original with Captain Kirk and all them, and I loved the original. The Next Generation, at first I didn't like it. Then later it grew on me, and now I love it. Later it started to grow on me when when I got to be in junior high. As I watched it more, I started to love that one too. And then after that, Deep Space Nine spun off of that was good. Voyager was good. The newer one with Scott Bakula. It takes place before the Captain Kirk era, where they go back, and the Enterprise it was called. That one, I thought that one was pretty good. Enterprise, I thought it was good. And I love all of them, but my favorite, I don't know, out of the original and the Next Generation, I don't know which one's my favorite, but I would probably say the original. And all the movies, Star Trek the motion picture in '79, that was great. Star Trek the motion picture in 1979, and then The Wrath of Khan. I don't know, I hope I'm going in order here. Star Trek The Voyage Home and The Search for Spock. Generations, where they had Picard, and they had Kirk and Picard meet each other. They cross paths during some time warp parallel universe thing or whatever. That one was good. I was sad at the end that Kirk died. That was the only thing I didn't like. That was the only thing I didn't like about it a little bit. But that was a good one. And then, so anyway, the remake or the reboot, where they went back to the original cast with Kirk and Spock. I thought Chris Pine was great as Captain Kirk. I thought, what's his name, Zachary Quintos, he was great as Mr. Spock. Then they had Uhura. I think the original Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, she, in my opinion, looks hotter than the newer Uhura. Not that she was bad. The newer Uhura, she's not bad looking, but I think the original Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, is way hotter. Okay. But that green chick in the movie was pretty hot in the newer Star Trek, excuse me. And anyway, well, with that, I prefer the original, even though the special effects in the newer one was more sophisticated. I'm not talking about the movies of the original. I'm talking about the old show from the 60s. They had cheesy special effects, even though I still love the show, you know. But of course, the special effects in the reboot of that are now was made now in the 2000s. Those effects are much more sophisticated, you know. That's the one thing but I'll always prefer the original Captain Kirk, William Shatner. I think he was the best Captain Kirk. And Leonard Nimoy, rest in peace. He was the best Spock. And James Doohan, rest in peace. He's the best Scotty. But I did think the new Spock was great, even though I like the original better. The new Captain Kirk, Chris Pine, I thought he was great, even though I'll always prefer the original Captain Kirk, William Shatner. But the newer one, he was great too. And Uhura, like I said, the old Uhura was hotter, but she was pretty hot, and she played her character well, you know. And I saw the two movies, the first one of that and Into the Darkness. They were great. They were great. You know. And they're talking about remaking Weird Science. They're talking about a movie that I loved from the 80s, The Wraith with Charlie Sheen. I don't know if it's Wraith or The Wraith, I forgot. But anyway, Wraith. I love that. I love that movie. I'm thinking they'll probably remake that at some point. You know. But and that's one movie, that's one of the exceptions, that most of the classic movies that I loved, I don't want them to remake them, even though most of the remakes I've seen of classic shows and classic movies I love, most of them have been good. Most of them have been good or great, except for Knight Rider. That one sucked. And I heard somebody told me that they're thinking about remaking it again. I hope if they do, that they do a better job this time around. Whether they make a movie or TV show or whatever. Wraith is one of the movies that I love the original, but I wouldn't mind if they remade that. You know. But as long as they do a good job. And you know, they remade the Brady Bunch. I love that. They did a parody. It was like the Brady Bunch remake. The Brady Bunch remake, it was like a spoof on the original. And I thought it would and then they did a sequel to that, a Very Brady sequel. I thought they were both great. You know. Even the girl that played Marsha, the new girl, that she looked a lot like the original Marsha, Maureen McCormick. Yeah, I like the two Brady's remakes they made, the Brady Bunch movie and a Very Brady sequel. They were a spoof on the original, and I like how they gave a goose egg to the Partridge Family, because I'm a big Partridge Family fan. You know, at first I liked the Brady Bunch better, and I saw the Partridge Family as just the cheap, stupid knockoff of the Brady Bunch, but then later I started watching the Partridge Family, and I actually became more of a Partridge Family than a Partridge Family fan than a Brady Bunch fan. Even though I do love both. I love Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch, but I'm a bigger Partridge Family fan, and I like how they gave a little nod to the Partridge Family When they were going to the talent show, they showed the Partridge Family bus driving by, and that gave me an idea. I wish they would do that. I wish they would remake the Partridge Family the same way they remade the Brady Bunch, by doing a comedy spoof of it. I think that would work. I would love for them. I'd love for them to do Happy Days like that. I'd love for them to do Happy Days like that, and do Laverne and Shirley like that, and Mork and Mindy, and do a Happy Days spoof movie like that first, and then have Laverne and Shirley, have a Laverne and Shirley spoof movie spin off of that, just like the original show spun off Happy Days, and same thing with Mork and Mindy, have a Mork and Mindy spoof movie spin off of that, and also All in the Family, the Archie Bunker. I would love for them to do a All in the Family movie like that, like how they did the Brady Bunch, a comedy spoof of it. I think that would be great. Well, as long as it's done right, of course. And done right, like, in my opinion of what I would like. I would love for them to do All in the Family like that, and do Happy Days like that, do Laverne and Shirley like that. Maybe even do Gilligan's Island like that. That would be awesome. The Addams Family. The Addams Family movies in the 90s, I thought. The Addams Family movies in the 90s, I thought they were great. I loved the original series. I used to watch the original series on Nick at Night. And also the Munsters. Also, I'm a little bit bigger Munsters fan than I am an Addams Family fan, but I do love both. I'm a little bit more of a Munsters. I remember the Munsters TV show that I grew up with. They did a remake of that. They did a cartoon series that I thought was pretty good, and they did a remake of that. They did a remake of the Munsters TV show in the 80s. I don't know if you all, though, I don't know how many of you remember that. They did a remake of that TV show, and I thought the remake show was pretty good. The remake show wasn't bad, but I prefer the original. But the Addams Family, I love the original, but the remake, the movies in the 90s, they were pretty good too. And they made a cartoon series on ABC. It was on every Saturday morning of the Addams Family. That was pretty good too. Here are my movies that I think are probably going to be remade. The Wraith, and like I said, that's one that I love the original, but I wouldn't mind if they remade that. Also, 16 Candles. I hope they don't remake that, but I have a feeling they probably will. Pretty in Pink. I hope they don't remake that, but they probably will. The Breakfast Club. I very much hope they don't remake that, but knowing Hollywood, they probably will. Here's the movies I think they won't touch. Back to the Future. I'm not sure. I assume they won't touch that. They won't remake. I'd love to see a sequel, however, of Back to the Future Part 4, where Michael J. Fox comes back and Christopher Michael J. Fox, he said, he was asked about it, and he said he would like to do it, just as long as they make his character. Michael J. Fox, he said he would like to come back for another Back to the Future, as long as, now that he's older, he was 50 years old at the time in the interview, and now he's 50-something years old. He said he won't mind doing it as long as they make his character older and mature, now that he's in his 50, because he said no 50-year-old should be going around riding skateboards. That's what he said. But he said he'd do it as long as, which I assume that's what they would do. They would make his character, he's grown now, has kids, probably grandchildren. And if they bring Christopher Lloyd back, that'd be great. Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover. Crispin Glover, they couldn't bring him back for 2 and 3. I hope they bring him back in a part 4, though. And Thomas F. Wilson as Biff, the bully Biff. You know, I would love them to do a Back to the Future 4, but a remake of the first one, no. I assume that's one of the movies that they won't do a remake, but I can't be sure. Same thing with Rocky. The original Rocky, I don't think they'll touch that. They're coming out with a new Apollo Creed. It comes out this month. I'm looking forward to that. That one looks good. 'Cause you know, I had thought of that myself years ago. Years ago, I had thought of a similar concept, that they should do a new Rocky movie where Rocky is old now and he's retired from boxing, and his son, Rocky's son, he wants to be a boxer, and Rocky, he trains his son to be a boxer, and his son becomes a great boxer. That was a concept I had years ago in this one, and now they did that. It's similar, but it's Apollo Creed's son. His best friend Apollo Creed, he's mentoring his son, and so I had a similar concept where I thought they should have Rocky train his son, and they, you know, and they kind of did that, but just a little different. It's his friend Apollo Creed's son, not his own son. And it looks from the previews, it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. You know, I'm digging this. I hope that it looks like it's going to be a good movie. I hope it is. But a remake of Rocky, the first one, except for the badly choreographed boxing scenes, I wouldn't want them to remake that movie. And I doubt they will. Back to the Future, I think they won't touch. Rocky, I think they won't touch it. And Star Wars, the first Star Wars, Episode 4, I think they won't touch it, but you can never be too sure with Hollywood. The prequels, however, a lot of people had a problem with the prequels, even though the prequels did well financially. They actually grossed more money than the original, if I'm not mistaken, the original series. And they spun off tons of merchandise that made a lot of money. The prequels, they were successful financially, and with the younger generation of Star Wars fans, they grew up with the prequels. But for the older generation, people who grew up in the 80s like me, and people who grew up in the 70s with the original, a lot of people were disappointed. And me, I liked the prequels. I don't think they were bad. I prefer the original, Episode 4, 5, and 6, but I didn't think the prequels were bad. The only thing my complaint is what everybody complains about. They overdid it a bit with the CGI. They should have done like with the original series. You know, use mostly props and live locations, and then use a little bit of CGI here and there where it's needed. But they went overboard with it. And it's a beautiful visual thing, but just it doesn't match with the Episode 4, 5, and 6, which is supposed to be a continuation of. They say in the new episodes 7, 8, and 9 that they're going to go back to props and sets and live locations and just use a little bit of CGI here and there where it's necessary. And I've seen the previews. I already saw 2 different previews of it, and it looks like that's what they've done. It looks great so far. I hope the movie lives up to the previews, because the previews look great. And if they do 7, 8, and 9 right, if they do these ones right, 7, 8, and 9, they can go back and remake the prequels and tone down the CGI this time. Simplify the story more. Because, I mean, I get it. At that time in the galaxy, they were going through a lot of shit with the government and, you know, but I think they dragged that on a little bit too much, that they made it, all these council meetings and all the politics. I mean, they could have still told that story, because I know it's important. I know that is important to what was going on at the time, to get us to where that was what got us to episode 4. And, you know, and the prequels, they gotta explain how they got there, you know. So I get that, but they didn't have to drag it on so much. They could have shortened it and simplified it a little bit so it doesn't get boring, you know. Just get to the point with that. Don't have these long council meetings and shit. And tone down the CGI. And the thing with the metachlorians was bullshit. You know, it changes the whole concept of the Force. Because in the originals, the Force was a thing that it was described as this thing that it's unlimited. It goes as the Force. It goes as far as your will takes you. Those who are born with the Force, whatever level of Force that they're born with, it depends on your will. It can go as far as your will can take you. That was what the Force was defined in the original. In the prequels with the metachlorians, it seems like everybody who's born with the Force, they're born with a certain amount of metachlorians, and some people have more than others, and Anakin's was said to be the highest. So the Force, if I understand it correctly, in the newer ones, the prequels, the Force only goes up to it only goes up to how many metachlorians you have, and then when it gets there, it doesn't go beyond that. That's stupid. And I could see if it was originally like that in the originals, but it wasn't. So it's like they just changed the whole concept of the Force, and it threw me off. Maybe they can fix that in episode 7, 8, and 9 and make it like, explain it that Yoda and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, that they misunderstood the Force, that they were mistaken about that. They thought the Force had to do with the metachlorians, how many metachlorians you have, but really what the Force is that you're born with a certain amount of metachlorian. When you get the Force up to those metachlorians, once you reach as many metachlorians as you have, but then if you become stronger in the Force, your metachlorians, they increase in your body. You gain more and more metachlorians, as much as, you know, and the metachlorians, as stronger as you get in the Force, the metachlorians, they increase, so that it's still limitless. If they change it to something like that, then that'll work. But as it is, as of now, the metachlorians just threw me off. And that's a big complaint a lot of people have with the series, and I don't blame them. But other than that, though, I thought the lightsaber battles were great. A lot of people had a problem with that. I didn't. I thought that the newer, and I love the lightsaber battles. I love the lightsaber battles in the episode 4, 5, and 6. I thought they were great. But in the newer ones, in the in the prequels, I thought I like how they I like it how they went they made they made it a bit more complex, and they did a lot of different cool shit, had them twirling in the air and doing flips I like that. A lot of people didn't like it. I love that. I love the big battle in the arena in episode 2. They had the big battle in the arena with all the Jedis, and they were fighting against the droids, and a lot of people said, "Oh, why they got to do that?" Me, I loved it. I loved those big lightsaber battles with all the Jedis fighting against the drones or whatever. Because you got to understand, people say, "Why did they do that?" Well, you got to understand, that is not going against the story. The metachlorian shit, I could see you complaining about that. Because that just threw me off, too. I was like, what the fuck? I could see you complaining about the overdone CGI, that those movies, the prequels, because of the overdone CGI, the prequels, they look like they don't even match with the episode 4, 5, and 6. But those big lightsaber battles with all the Jedi, that's what it was back then. If you read the books that came out before the movie prequel, before episode 4, before A New Hope, and it was an army of Jedis. Before Darth Vader went and killed them all, it used to be a big army of Jedis, a big fraternity, and they all would fight together. They all had each other's back. That's how it was back in those times. That is not getting away from the original story, the original source material. And I love those big battles. Maybe the CGI was a little overdone, but the lightsaber battles, though, all those Jedis fighting and doing cool shit with the lightsaber, I love it. I love the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I thought it was great. I thought Yoda versus Count Dooku, and Yoda versus the Emperor within lightsaber battle. I thought those battles were great. And Yoda and the Emperor, they're using the Force to try to throw things at each other, throw big objects with. I thought that was all great, Some of the things about, and the scene where Anakin in episode 2, Anakin, he's chasing after that chick, and Anakin and Obi-Wan, they're chasing after that chick in the speeder. They're at some bar somewhere on Coruscant or wherever they were, and the chick, she runs into the bar, and then she runs out, and they're chasing her. I thought that whole scenery was great, and I thought some of the romantic scenes with Anakin and Padme were good, Yeah, Jar Jar Binks, he was a little bit too much. I don't hate his character like a lot of people do. I like the way he looked. I thought he looked cool. Just maybe, like, if they made him not talk so much, he might not have been so annoying. And if they made him, instead of have a voice like this, maybe if they made him have a voice more like this, like them sea creatures that they were talking to when they went underwater, and they went to meet they went to meet those other people that were the same kind of race that Jar Jar was, those sea people. If they would have had him talk like that, and don't talk so much. Yeah, I like the thing with the tongue. A lot of people were annoyed by when he went and he grabbed the apple or something off the table, and I think Qui-Gon Jinn grabbed his tongue. I liked that. I thought it was funny. A lot of people were annoyed by that. I thought it was cool. Um, I thought Anakin blowing up at the end of episode 1, little Anakin, when he blew up the main reactor or whatever the fuck that was called. I'm a big Star Wars fan, people, but I'll admit I'm not very I'm not really very up on the scientific technical stuff of he took out the thing on the, like how Luke blew up the Death Star in the first one, episode 4. Anakin, he flew his little ship into the main reactor, whatever the fuck that was called. I thought that was cool. And I like, yeah, there's a lot I like about, and there's a lot I love about the prequels, even though I thought they could have been done better had they toned down the CGI, simplified the story a little bit, and don't put that whole thing with the midichlorians in there. Then it would have been great. The prequels would have been great, and they would have matched more with the original trilogy. That's supposed to be that's a continuation of the prequels. Had they done those few things differently, I would have loved the prequels more than I did. But still, as it is, I did like them. There's certain parts that I love of the prequels, and overall, I like the prequels. I don't think they were terrible, but that's subject to opinion. A lot of people thought the prequels were terrible. And people who like the prequels better than the original, that's fine. You're entitled to your own opinion. There is no right and wrong and good and bad with this. It's all about your own taste and what you like, Me, I like the prequels, but not nearly as much as the original. If they would have done certain things better, then I would have liked and now I'm getting into prequels, because I was talking about remakes at first. Well, yeah, I kind of went off a little bit, but that does have to do with what I'm saying, because I'm saying that does have to, because what I'm saying about the prequels is that after they do episodes 7, 8, and 9, if they do them right to where they match 4, 5, and 6, if they do 7, 8, and 9 right, and don't goof like how they did on the prequels, if they do 7, 8, and 9 right, then later they can go back and remake the prequels and do them right this time. Tone down the CGI, simplify the story, and everybody knows what's going to happen, I know, because it's a remake, but still, they could do them right this time. Tone down the CGI, simplify the story, and that stupid bullshit with the midichlorians, don't put that in there. And with Anakin, I know he was the chosen one and all that, and he's going to bring balance to yes, I know Anakin, he was an ally that they needed. And that's fine. But, tone down that a bit, too. With Anakin, they made him this special. I think they went a little bit overboard. They overplayed how special he was. He's the special. Don't play his character up so much. If they are to remake it, make it that he's an ally that they need, because they need as much help as they could get. with the Jedis and the rebels trying to defeat evil and stop this government from getting out of control, and so they get Anakin as an ally, a boy who's strong in the Force, and they want to train him. We need to talk about him like Anakin, he's someone we need, and Qui-Gon Jinn, he says, the Force is telling me we need to go get, but don't play him up like he's he's the one who's gonna bring balance to the Force. He didn't seem because he didn't seem that special to me. More special than Obi-Wan and Yoda, Don't play him up so much. If they are to remake it in the future, don't play him up as to how special he is. Just make it that he's an ally that they need, so they go and get him. They go and get him so they could take him and train him. But stop with this, bring balance to the Force. He's the chosen one. He's Neo of the Matrix. Bring balance to the Force. Tone that down a bit. Let's stop going overboard with that. If they remake it, don't go overboard with that. But yeah, I would like them to remake. And listen, if they are to remake the original prequels, I still like the prequels as they are, even though I think they could have been better, much better. But I do like the prequels. If they are to remake it, those of you who like the original prequels better, that's okay, that's fine. And if they remake it, especially if you're a person who was a child when the prequels come out, because it's mostly the children who were born, it's mostly the people who were children when the prequels came out, and they grew up with the prequels, the prequels and the cartoon series you see on TV. Those children who were born in the 90s and children who were born in the 2000s, that they grew up with the prequels and the newer cartoon series than the original. I know those people usually they like the prequels better. And that's fine. If they are to remake the prequels and they do it and the people who grew up with the original prequels, they don't like the remake of the prequels, that's fine. Then you could still just keep watching the original prequels if you only like them, and you don't like the remake, if they are to remake it. Even if you're a person of the older generation like me, I'm a person who grew up in the 80s. Most people who grew up in my generation and before that, who are Star Wars fans, they prefer the original or they don't like the prequels at all. If you are a person who grew up in my generation or before and you like or you prefer the prequels, that's fine. And people might say, what's wrong with you? You grew up with the original. How could you like these sucky prequels? It's all got to do with opinion, the person, and especially the young children, they grew up with the prequels, and so most of them, the prequels is their favorite. And they might love the prequels. They might love the prequels and not like the 4, 5, and 6 at all. That's fine. Me, I liked all the stuff. I love the original trilogy is my favorite. Even the unmastered versions, the original unremastered versions, because I like the scene at Jabba's palace on Return of the Jedi in the original unremastered version. They had the song Lapty Neck with the little thing, Cy Snoodle or singing Lapty Neck. I like that song. I like that song better than the newer one in the remaster. I don't know why they changed it. I don't know why they changed the song. I could see you putting more puppets and making the puppets with CGI, making them move better, but why did you have to change the song? Just, the newer one was alright, but I like the original better from the unremastered version. I wish they would remaster it again with all the extra added CGI puppets, and you make Side Snoodle's mouth move more. But they put the song Lapty Neck back in it. Lapty Neck. You know, they should make a newer remastered version where they have it the same way with the newer puppets and the newer CGI, but have the song Lapty Neck back in it. And of course, in episode 4, the biggest complaint people had with the remaster was Han Solo. They changed the remaster. In the remaster, they changed it where him and Greedo are at the table and Greedo shot first. Yeah, I thought that was stupid too. I thought that was stupid that in the original Han Solo shot first. In the remake, just for the hell of, in the remake or the remastered version, just for the hell of doing something different, they had Greedo shoot first. That was stupid. I agree. They should change it back. They ought to make a new remastered version and change it back to where Han Solo shoots first. And the extra rock in front of R2-D2 at the beginning, the extra rock, that's something that it didn't help the film. It didn't hurt it either, but it didn't help. It's just unnecessary. You put an extra rock in front of R2-D2. Whatever. That just didn't make any difference at all. Just unnecessary. You know, but yeah, that's what I think. It'd be cool if they remade the prequels, you know. And I think I have a feeling they're gonna remake Rambo. I don't think they'll touch Rocky, but I think they might remake Rambo, and I hope they don't. They already made a Rambo 4, which I liked. I have it on DVD, and I heard they're making a Rambo 5. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what I heard. I hope they don't ever, if they do make a 5, I hope it's good. And I hope they don't remake the original. Even though it might come out good, like a lot of these remakes that when I heard they were remaking it, I didn't like the idea of them remaking it, but then when I saw it, I actually thought the remake was good. I hope, but that's all I wanted to say. That was just something I was thinking about, all these remakes, the flood of remakes that they've been making in the last more than a decade. It's just been a flood of remakes, and I just wanted to give my opinion on that. Thank you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. Leave a comment in the comments section if you have anything to say. Leave a comment in the comments section and click the thumbs up button if you like. Alright, people. Alright, everybody. It was good to talk to you again. Have a nice day. I'll be seeing you again later. Goodbye.